Now, under mother's care, who is in very delicate health, can you shed any more light on his mother?
So this is the census from 1881. People's full names aren't given. They've just listed their initials. So we're looking for CW on the list.
Yeah, I think it's this one here, 2CW.
Caroline Whitehall, your great-grandmother. Condition as to marriage, married.
Yeah, 51.
Lunatic.
No.
Yes, look. She was a lunatic.
Jack Whitehall is an actor, writer and comedian, and one half of a unique father-son double act.
He's Britain's answer to Donald Trump. If the question America was asking was, I wonder what Donald Trump would be like if he was even more right-wing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my co-host, Michael Whitehall.
He was begging to get on screen. He was like, please, can you just somehow get me on TV? And I said, all right.
The true story is that his career was struggling. Oh, hi. And then I came up with the idea that we could do maybe something together, and changed his life. Champagne. I was a quite hands-on father. Sometimes I was the only parent on the touchline, wasn't I?
Take the wine, the one that we bought from the box, remember? I wasn't at boarding school. So when he says I was there a lot, you meant like once a week. We're just a normal family, not having champagne for lunch
Sure
on a
you don't
Monday.
want champagne?
We do not drink champagne for lunch on a Monday. I would like to maybe establish that there is no biological link this way. Didn't you once try to claim that when you were a child, the only form of entertainment you had was a stick and a tin?
Yeah, baked bean tin.
I wouldn't say I'd be that disturbed by finding out bad stuff about my family. I'm very open-minded. If we go back and there are, there are dodgy things.
I think it's nice that we're both doing this because he's the next generation, and I think it's very important that he knows about his family because, I'm going to be...
This was a very awkward phase.
Well, you were called Harry Potter, if you remember.
I was quite happy with the Harry Potter if he got the part, but he was too tall and there was never a hope of him getting cast.
Jack's sitting down with his dad and mum, Hilary, to look through some old school photos.
The thing that strikes me when I look at this picture is not the most diverse upbringing, really, was it, Marlborough College?
Oh, I think it was.
Look, this just sea of poshos with big hair.
There were women teachers and things like that.
And actually, she wasn't a teacher, that was the matron.
Oh, right.
And so where is this?
This was Ampleforth College. It was a boarding school run by monks.
So who's in this picture here?
You've got Jack, that's my father, and your grandfather, who sadly you never met. And then my mother there, Nora. Then me.
You're quite tubby now.
Great,
Tubby there.
Well, chubby checker.
I've never seen you in shorts. I see why you don't wear them anymore.
So given what I know about your family, that things were always a tiny bit tight, how did they afford to send you to Ampleforth?
Well, because of him. My grandfather, R.E.B., Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall.
What, he paid for it?
Yeah, because my father wouldn't be able to have afforded private school.
So who's this?
That's Edith, who was R.E.B.'s wife.
Where did this R.E.B. guy get his money from?
Well, that's the mystery. I don't know.
I suspect that Jennifer knows more about it than you do because she's older.
Jack and Michael are hoping that Michael's cousin Jennifer, who's 10 years his senior, can tell them more about Jack's great-grandfather and Michael's grandfather, Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall.
Hello, Jennifer. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you.
Very good to see you, Michael.
Yes. May we come in?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Jennifer, we're on the trail of my great-grandfather, R.E.B., and we were hoping that you might know a little bit more than
Oh, yes.
Michael,
yes.
whose knowledge was a bit patchy.
Yes, well,
I think all the years of boozing have affected his memory.
he's that much younger.
Just
So perhaps you'd like to see some photos of
Yes, please.
our grandfather.
Is this what you did before Instagram?
There's R.E.B. on
Yes,
a scooter.
yes.
I think there's definitely a bit of a resemblance to
Or to
Daddy.
me.
Yeah,
Family resemblance.
quite jowly. Do you not think?
Possibly a bit, yes. That was very sweet. Funny way he held his cigarette.
Yes,
quite cool.
always with that finger,
And this is a Rosa,
a rosa,
which is where they live.
which was up on the downs. He used to take us out with his chauffeur and had his housekeeper, so he was quite comfortably off, yes.
Do you know anything about R.E.B.'s parents?
Well, we've got the birth certificate of R.E.B. there.
Oh, right.
So it's got Grandpa's date of birth there, doesn't it?
December 1870.
Father, Richard Whitehall.
And here we have his profession, commercial traveller. What does
That's
that entail?
interesting. A commercial traveller was a man who travelled around Britain selling his goods.
Like
So-
an Avon lady.
Yes. Funnily enough, my father was a commercial traveller, and you said yours was
So
at
was
one
mine.
time. Well, yes.
You come from a long line of commercial
Travellers,
travellers.
yeah. His mother was
Caroline.
Baxter.
Oh, that's where the Baxter comes in.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, because he was Richard Ernest
It's
Baxter
that's
Whitehall.
right. The story was his father was killed in a pony and trap, and his mother was said to have died of grief afterwards. Yeah.
Well, that's very sad.
So do we know what happened to little R.E.B.?
As far as I know, he was adopted then by a wealthy businessman called Charlie Worsley. Now, what relationship he was to the family, I don't know.
So it's quite a sad story.
And yet he never talked about it. Never talked about his childhood. I never remember him talking to you.
No, never.
No.
But then maybe we never asked him.
No, I wish I'd asked him.
Yes.
Jack and Michael have discovered that Jack's great-grandfather and Michael's grandfather, Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall, known as R.E.B., was the son of Richard Whitehall, a commercial traveller, and his wife, Caroline Baxter. And they've been told that R.E.B.'s parents both died when he was young. To find out what happened to R.E.B. after he was orphaned, Jack and Michael are searching the census.
So let's see where he is in the 1881 census.
He was Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall, R.E.B., hence.
Date of birth? 1870. Enter. So here he is, R.E.B. Rank, profession or occupation, scholar. This says tra schools.
Right.
What does that mean? Commercial traveller.
Traveller, yes. A boarding school for commercial travellers.
In Pinner.
It's very, very peculiar.
So are we to believe that R.E.B. by this point in 1881 is all by himself in the world? Richard Sr. and Caroline had already perished and he has been taken into this school in Pinner.
Yeah, to train as a commercial traveller.
Jack and Michael have come to the site of the Commercial Travellers' School, where R.E.B. was a pupil, to meet historian Jane Hamlet.
How do you do?
Hello.
Michael.
Lovely to meet you.
So this school was specifically for commercial travellers. But would a child of that age know he wanted to be a commercial traveller? It doesn't quite, I don't quite understand.
No, well, in fact, the school was set up for the children of commercial travellers.
Right.
So really the idea was that commercial travelling was quite precarious, and if the father died early, the family would be left impoverished and there would be no means of paying for the education of a son or daughter.
Touring the country as a sales rep meant that R.E.B.'s father, Richard Whitehall, spent much of his time away from his family. Life on the road could expose commercial travellers to all sorts of temptations.
So this is actually an after-dinner speech given by Dickens in the 1850s. And Dickens was the honorary chair of the Commercial Travellers' School. So in this speech, he's talking a little bit about the life of commercial travellers.
I have no doubt we could all be very eloquent on the comforts of our favourite hotel, its beds, its stables, its excellent cheese, its pigeon pies, or its 1820 port. Or possibly we could recall our chaste and innocent admiration of its landlady, or our fraternal regard for its handsome chambermaid.
He's basically alluding to the fact that a man who was moving around and potentially fraternising with women who were, you know, of dubious moral repute was seen as potentially problematic.
My father was a commercial traveller, but I mean, he was a very well-behaved one. And I think my mother was always a bit suspicious of him.
You don't know that?
What?
That he was well-behaved?
No,
you were too young to know. Maybe he was with handsome chambermaids. You have no idea. So do you have any more information on why REB ended up coming to this school?
Yes, we do. So this is the report for August 1880, showing us what happened when pupils first came in.
Here we are. Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall, son of Richard Whitehall, Birmingham, aged 9, the only child under mother's care who is in very delicate health. So when he came to the school...
The mother was alive?
She was alive. He wasn't an orphan, torn away from his mother and sent to a boarding school aged 9.
They believed that this would help boys learn to be men, so to our eyes, really, that's sort of quite...
barbaric.
Yeah.
To send a child away to boarding school to make them more masculine.
Yeah.
That's an archaic practice that, I mean, no one would do that now.
It works for some people, doesn't it?
Some people. Other people, it just causes long-lasting trauma and an inability to form proper emotional bonds and relationships with people.
Yes.
Now, under mother's care, who is in very delicate health, can you shed any more light on his mother?
So this is the census from 1881. People's full names aren't given. They've just listed their initials. So we're looking for CW on the list.
Yeah, I think it's this one here, 2CW.
Caroline Whitehall, your great-grandmother. Addition as to marriage, married.
Yeah, 51.
Lunatic.
No.
Yes, look. She was a lunatic.
It's a term that's used to categorise the mentally ill. So basically, anyone who was resident in an asylum in this period would automatically be categorised as a lunatic.
I mean, to say that she was a lunatic, I mean, I know you say that had a slightly different meaning in those days, but it still isn't great, is it?
The family rumour was that she died of grief after her husband's pony and trap accident. But maybe she was, depressed or sad and grief-stricken, so they just put her in here.
We do have the front page for that set of census entries, and you can see this tells us actually exactly where she was at the time.
St Andrew's Hospital for Mental Diseases, Northampton. And does this still exist, this place?
Yes, it does.
I wonder what became of her. So, Richard Whitehall, the travelling salesman, has pony and trap accident. Maybe he was tired from travelling. Maybe he'd been up all night with a busty chambermaid and that's why he was tired. Whatever. Dickens said that maybe he was a bit of a shagger.
I don't think Dickens actually specifically said he was a shagger.
Well,
I don't think he was referring to him particularly.
I think he was insinuating. His dad dies, his mother is grief-stricken and sent to a lunatic asylum. Not a great start for little REB.
St Andrew's Hospital in Northampton was founded in 1838 and is still a psychiatric hospital. Jack and Michael have come to the hospital's chapel to look at Caroline's patient records with Professor Hilary Marland.
Lovely to meet you, and welcome to the chapel of St Andrew's Hospital.
Thank you very much.
So we know that my great-great-grandmother, Caroline, was here. We were wondering whether you could shed a little bit more light onto what became of her.
The first of these documents is the hospital's casebook. This passage here would describe Caroline's condition when she was admitted into the hospital.
I'm struggling to read this.
We've transcribed some of the extracts from the casebook.
Whitehall Caroline, admitted April 9th, 1880. Age 50, she has fixed delusions on the subject of her position, believes herself married to a Mr. Jackson who has no existence. Her sister states that she is changed in her disposition and has on occasion said she would cut her throat. Wow. So when we saw lunatic in that book, we assumed that that was just a sort of Victorian thing. They would call anyone with any kind of grief or depression a lunatic, but reading something like that suggests that she had something that was a lot more severe and a lot more serious.
April 10th, it says, has all the appearance of a general paralytic affected with mania.
This affected a great many patients at this time, and it refers to a condition that's a result of late-stage syphilis. So this is when the disease infects the brain.
It's horrible.
I mean, I'm completely speechless, which is rare for me. I mean, do you have any idea of how this would have happened?
Women were seen as the vulnerable victims of men's sexual misbehaviour for a large part.
Oh, so Richard Whitehall could have given her syphilis.
Well, we have another document here for you to look at, which is Richard Whitehall's death register.
When and where died, 11th November 1872. Cause of death, cerebral softening. Does that mean?
It literally does mean softening of the brain. And again, this is a condition that's referred to very often in connection with general paralysis.
So he died of syphilis?
It seems very likely.
So Richard Whitehall may have been a bit of a ladies' man. Perhaps.
So we can also see a little bit more about the progression of Caroline's condition while she was in the hospital.
1882, September 25th, dementia more advanced, is dirty and violent, used bad language and grinds her teeth a good deal. Oh, God. Horrible. Would they have had any idea of how to treat it?
No, sadly, it's pretty much untreatable. So patients admitted with general paralysis would always die, and it might be in a matter of months, or it might take several years.
So the minute she comes in here, she's just condemned to death?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And then we have another register here.
Caroline Whitehall, death, paralysis, date of death, March 20th, 1883. So 3 years of that suffering.
Yeah, and they can do nothing about
They
it.
can do nothing about it, and she's getting worse and worse.
Contain it.
I wonder if R.E.B. was able to visit her, or whether he even knew where she was.
It's quite unusual for asylums to have visitors during this period, so I doubt he would have contact with his mother after she'd been admitted.
So I suspect the Pony and Trap became the story because this is all quite grim.
Yes.
Pony and Trap and dying of grief is better than both of them dying of sort of paralytic,
Syphilis.
affected mania.
Yes. So R.E.B. invented the story, or?
Or maybe that he was told the story.
Yeah.
So we know that R.E.B.'s mother died in 1883. Do we know what became of him then?
So we've got one further document, which is from the 1891 census returns.
Richard Ernest Baxter Whitehall, nephew, age 20.
And the head of the house is called Alfred Bromwich. And then there's Sarah Hannah Bromwich.
So he's living at this point with his aunt and uncle, and Sarah is Caroline's sister.
And they all lived in Blakesley Hall. Do you know where that is?
I think it's on the outskirts of Birmingham, and I believe that it's still standing.
All right.
I think Michael and I are not particularly emotional people, but reading an account that's as graphic and as stark as that is very hard not to be affected by it.
I only knew my grandfather, R.E.B., from a bit of a distance, because remember, I was just a child. He was a very kind, sweet man. To realise that he had that start in life was quite sad, and I'm fascinated to know what happened between then and when I got to know him later on.
Jack and Michael have discovered that as a young man, R.E.B. lived here at Blakesley Hall with one of his aunts. They're meeting historian Dr. Jenny Gilbert.
Hello, welcome to Blakesley Hall.
What do you do?
So we know that age 20, R.E.B. was living here with his aunt, Sarah Baxter. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Baxter family?
So we've got an advert here from Ari's Birmingham Gazette from 1861. If you just take a look here.
Worsley and Baxter, wholesale woolen merchants and Manchester warehousemen.
Yeah, Worsley and Baxter, this company, were kind of a bit of a high-end sort of luxury woolen merchants, and the woolen drapery trade was booming.
This is a Charlie Worsley that we've heard about.
Yeah, both the Baxter and Worsley family, they were connected through marriage and through business.
R.E.B.'s mother, Caroline, was one of 12 brothers and sisters. One of her brothers was the woolen merchant, John Baxter. And one of her sisters was Anne Baxter. In 1851, Anne married Samuel Worsley, the business partner of her brother John. Samuel and Anne's son was Charles Worsley, R.E.B.'s first cousin, who was 10 years older than him.
There wasn't a huge age gap between the two of them. I'd always assumed that Charlie Worsley was a much older man who sort of adopted, you know, the young R.E.B. and sort of looked after him.
Do we know what happened to Charlie Worsley?
So here we have the will for Charles Worsley, and what we can see is the value of the estate.
£194,893, 16 shillings and 7 pence. That's an awful lot of money, isn't it?
What's that in modern terms?
We're looking probably close to £10 million, so quite a big figure.
But that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It was a lot of money then, and it's a lot of money now.
Wow.
Loaded.
Did Charlie Worsley not married, never had any kids?
No children, no.
No children?
If we just look to page 3 of the will.
Yeah. Yeah, Ernest Whitehall.
I see he's become Ernest Whitehall now.
So what, he inherits, all that money? All that money? Wow.
It's incredible.
And also, when does he get it?
1938.
That's 2 years before you were born. Are you surprised by the date of when
Very
he inherited
surprised, because the family story was that Charlie Worsley was his sort of adopted father.
Yeah.
But this is clear that he wasn't.
No. For a boy who's orphaned and then living in a little school, probably leading a really modest life, and then all of a sudden, aged, 60, inheriting
a lot of money.
Thank you, Charlie Worsley.
What happened to all those millions of pounds? I mean, they definitely didn't come our way. I'm surprised at the amount of money that seems to have been part of his life.
If anyone deserved it, it was him after that upbringing that he had and being orphaned.
Yeah. And I'm really pleased that R.E.B. in the end had a good life and that, you know, he died a happy man.
After finding out about the source of R.E.B.'s wealth, Jack and Michael now want to see what they can discover about his wife Edith's side of the family.
What do you remember of Edith, your grandmother?
She died when I was about 5 or something like that.
So presumably you don't know anything about her family?
Nothing at all.
To learn more about Edith's family, Jack and Michael have come to the Birmingham and Midland Institute.
I haven't found an awful lot about Edith herself. She was a great-granddaughter of a gentleman who I think I found very interesting. And this is an 1841 census. It's Newport in Wales.
In Wales? Mm-hmm. Did you know that you were Welsh?
I didn't, no.
So, we're looking at Thomas Phillips.
Yes. So we're going back now to your 4 times great-grandfather, and Michael, he was your 3 times great-grandfather.
Place, High Street. Profession, solicitor. And so what's so interesting about him?
It's a newspaper article from 1833.
Monmouthshire. On Thursday, the 31st of October, the members of the True Blue Benefit Society held their first dinner in the clubroom of the Salutation Inn, Newport. The vice chair was filled by Thomas Jones Phillips, Esquire Solicitor. The room was tastefully decorated. The dinner was served up in Mr. Hopkins' very superior style. Every individual present expressed himself highly gratified. So what we get from this is that it must have been a pretty slow news day in Monmouthshire. They're just still reporting about a dinner party.
But there's a clue here.
Newport True Blue Benefit Society. I don't know what that means. Do you, Michael?
No. True Blue. Conservative.
That's right. They were a group of Tories, of people who supported the Conservatives, and they formed clubs all over the country.
So it's in your blood. Being a Tory. I guess if we want to find out more about Thomas Jones Phillips Esquire, we're going to have to head to Monmouthshire.
Possibly to Monmouth itself.
Jack and Michael have discovered that Jack's 4 times great-grandfather and Michael's 3 times great-grandfather was Thomas Jones Phillips, a solicitor who lived in Newport in Monmouthshire. Jack and Michael have come to Monmouth in Wales to find out more about Thomas Jones Phillips's support for the True Blues. They're meeting parliamentary historian Dr. Philip Salmon.
Nice to meet you.
Jack.
Hello. Hey. Come through. I'll show you.
Okay.
So I'm not going to lie, when I found out that we were going to Wales, I was excited maybe that there would be a revelation in my family history, like, I don't know, one of my ancestors was a Welsh miner or something like that. But no, turns out, massive Tory. So what have you got on my 4-time great-grandfather, Thomas Jones Phillips?
He was a massive Tory, but very important figure as well in local politics.
In 1832, Parliament passed the Great Reform Act. It gave the vote to all men paying a yearly rent of at least £10. But most working-class men were still denied the vote. At a local level, Tories, like Thomas Jones Phillips, and their rivals the Whigs, fought tooth and nail for the support of these new middle-class voters.
Here's a letter written by your 4 times great-grandfather. If you find the writing difficult, we've helpfully provided you with a transcript.
I assure you that yesterday was a very busy day, but I have accomplished everything I consider necessary to be done on the part of Lord Worcester.
Lord Worcester is the Tory candidate standing in this election.
Occupiers of £10 houses in Newport objected to 117. Occupiers of £10 houses in St Woolas objected to 65.
He's coming up with all sorts of technical, legal reasons to object to voters who he thinks are going to vote Whig and against the Tory candidate.
That sounds like a great guy.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing to do. So trying to get people that would vote the opposite way to him,
yep. And of
unable
course,
to vote.
They haven't paid their rates, their names are spelt wrong, the addresses are wrong, whatever.
Why are you nodding? Like, that's a decent thing to do.
Well, he's doing a good job for the Tories. He is.
That's not how you should run an election.
That's really
anyone that's going to disagree with you, you make it impossible for them to vote. That's like a dictatorship.
No, it's not. Mr. John Frost called on me yesterday. I told him the Blues would not suffer themselves to be beaten by the rascally Whigs.
So John Frost is one of your ancestors' neighbours. He lives in the High Street. He's a tailor. And what's really interesting is John Frost is a radical, and he's saying this isn't fair. You know, all these people have now been given the vote after this huge change, and now you're objecting to their votes on these technical grounds.
And then in this final paragraph, he suggests employing a company called Cambridge Analytica.
Yep. I mean, the analogy is absolutely there. In the same way that the social media now is the cutting edge of electioneering, after the Great Reform Act, this is the cutting edge stuff. This is pioneering brand new stuff.
Pioneering scumbaggery.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that. But there's nothing illegal about it. And eventually it becomes the norm. It transforms British politics. But I think objecting to the votes of your neighbours is going to make him quite unpopular with some people.
I think I'd rather he had syphilis.
To find out how Thomas Jones Phillips was regarded in his hometown, Jack and Michael are visiting Newport's John Frost School, named after their ancestor's neighbour.
Hello, team.
They're meeting local historian Rhiann Jones.
I'm Michael.
Hello, I'm Rhiann. Welcome to John Frost School. And you might need these.
Singing?
Right.
Indeed.
The school's choir keep John Frost's legacy alive.
So we saw reference to John Frost in a letter that my ancestor wrote, and he's got a school named after him. So I'm guessing he wasn't just a tailor.
That's right. John Frost is a local hero. He was a leader of the Chartist movement.
John Frost believed the Great Reform Act did not go far enough. He and his fellow Chartists argued that all working men should have the vote. In 1839, the Chartists put their demands to Parliament in the People's Charter.
Universal suffrage, no property qualification, annual parliaments, equal representation and payment of members and vote by ballot.
So all pretty reasonable things that...
Well, these were all very radical ideas at the time. The idea that we have now that voting is some sort of inherent human right had to be very fiercely fought for.
And how does my ancestor, Thomas Jones Phillips, fit into all of this?
Well, let me show you this newspaper report from 1839.
Examination and committal of the Chartist leaders for conspiracy and sedition from the Tory Times. It being intended that Mr. Vincent, who had been apprehended in London, should undergo an examination before the magistrates at Newport this day, our reporter proceeded there.
Henry Vincent, another Chartist leader, was arrested in May 1839 for giving inflammatory speeches. Those in authority, like Thomas Jones Phillips, feared that if they didn't crack down on this working-class movement, it might develop into a full-blown revolution.
On entering the town, we found it in a state of complete riot. The state of alarm and the terrorism, we were informed, had existed ever since the news of Vincent's apprehension in London. A rumour having been circulated that the colliers would come down and rescue Vincent. The mayor, with the other magistrates, and Mr. Thomas Jones Phillips, clerk to the justices, in the most praiseworthy manner, adopted every precaution for the preservation of the peace. So here is a mention of our ancestor, Mr. Thomas Jones Phillips.
Yeah, as clerk to the magistrates, that was actually a really important role because it was his job to give legal advice to the magistrates themselves and also keep a record of everything that went on.
And it does say in the most praiseworthy manner. So they're praising him for what he did.
Yes, the Tory Times are praising him for shutting down the practices of this great guy, Mr. Vincent, who was speaking about trying to spread democracy through our land.
I mean, the mention of the colliers in particular is really
significant because the valleys, the sort of industrial part of Wales, is where Chartism is really massive and where they draw a lot of their support from.
What's next? I suppose we'll probably go and visit a mine that our ancestors shot down.
Possibly.
Or maybe an orphanage that he burnt to the ground. I can't wait to find out more about Thomas Jones Phillips.
I would suggest going up to the valleys because that will give you an idea of how
unpopular he was.
Pretty much, and how deep
great.
the divisions were.
This just gets better and better.
This doesn't look like a valley. Is it a valley?
This is a valley, you just can't see because it's foggy.
Oh, I see.
Every story needs a villain, and it just happens to be that our ancestor is probably going to be the villain. Like, best hope is that he's just a sort of pen pusher following orders.
I see him with one of those feather-type pens rather than swishing around with a wax moustache and a cloak.
I want him to be just like sort of mid-level Roman, like supporting villain.
In Thomas Jones Phillips's time, the Nantiglow Ironworks were a hotbed of social and political unrest.
Morning.
Morning.
Frank, hiya.
Heritage Officer Frank Olding is showing Jack and Michael around what remains of the site.
This is one of the places that would have been familiar to your 4 times great-grandfather on his visits to Nantiglow. This is the last privately built castle in the UK. It was built by the local ironmaster to protect themselves against their own workers.
Not great if you have to build a tower to protect yourself from your own workforce.
No.
That's never a good sign of a business.
This is a little watercolour, about 1829, of Nantiglow. The tower is just over there in the murk, and the ironworks here are just behind us, over there.
And in this town, what was the ironmaster actually worried about happening?
There'd been big riots in 1816 and 1822, and they'd had to bring in the Scots Greys, the cavalry regiment, and they were worried that the next time it happened, it would be better organised and even more serious. And part of the reason for all of that tension is what's going on over the way. That's the truck shop there. And so workers were only paid 4 times a year. And when they were paid in tokens, which they could only spend in that shop, which belonged to the company.
Really?
So you were constantly in debt, because if you had to work for 3 months before you got paid, and you would take subs on your pay, so when the payday came, you might actually owe the company money. And if didn't matter how awful the working conditions were, you couldn't then leave until you paid off your debt.
Okay, and then where does my ancestor enter the fray? Let me guess, firebrand lawyer, fighting for the rights of the workers, wants to free them from this tyranny. Is he?
No, I'm afraid he's not. No.
He's in the turret, chucking stones at them.
Something like that.
Pretty much.
Yes. You've probably heard that Henry Vincent has come to South Wales to lead the Chartist cause and is being arrested. So your 4 times great-grandfather is preparing the case against Henry Vincent.
Copies of depositions taken before the magistrates of the borough of Newport in Monmouthshire, 27th of April, 1839. Thomas Jones Phillips, clerk to the magistrates. There he is. The Secretary of State, Home Office.
Yes.
So these are being sent to the Home Office.
Yeah.
So this is our great ancestor gathering evidence to try to bang up the guys that are fighting for the rights of workers in Wales.
Yes. And we have a phrase that describes someone that does that. In Welsh, we call them a Dic Sion Dafydd.
A Dic Sion Dafydd.
A Dic Sion Dafydd, which is a sort of Welshman that does the dirty work on behalf of the establishment, essentially on behalf of the English.
What more? So Henry Vincent's been arrested on the cooked-up evidence of our ancestor. What happens next?
He's taken off to the jail at Monmouth, and the sense of unrest and grievance is growing because he's become a hero of the Chartists.
Right, yeah.
And among the things that go on are mass meetings to demand his release from prison.
A public meeting will be holden at Dukestown on Monday next for the purpose of petitioning the Queen to dismiss the present ministry, to call to her council better and wiser men, and to dissolve the Parliament. It will be enough to tell the men of the hills that Wales expects every man to do his duty, and may God bless their righteous cause.
Splendid.
What do you think? That's very uplifting.
Very uplifting.
So this meeting is at Dukestown, which is 2 valleys over in that direction.
Frank has brought Jack and Michael to the Dukestown Working Men's Club, which stands on the spot where the Chartists held their meeting in August 1839.
And this is the report from the Monmouthshire Merlin, which is the local newspaper.
Chartist meeting at Dukestown. Mr. Frost was the principal speaker.
That's
John Frost, yes. He of the school.
Yes.
He said he had no doubt some emissary of government was present for the purpose of taking down his words, and he invited him to come near the platform in order that he might hear more distinctly.
The emissary?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It is our ancestor, Thomas Jones Phillips. He's the dodgy emissary that's come to the meeting in like a bad disguise, and he's there at the back with a notepad, and he goes, "Oi, you're not a Chartist." And our ancestor's like, "What? Me? No, I'm really up for..."
False moustache?
False moustache, probably.
Yeah. So he's here to take evidence.
To spy.
Again. Yes, essentially, in case they say anything seditious, which can then later be held against them.
And 2 former magistrates for Monmouthshire were present throughout the day, attended by T.J. Phillips, Esquire, clerk to the magistrates for the division of Bedwetty.
Right.
Welty.
Bedwetty.
Welty. Bedwelty. No, Bedwelty.
Bedwetty.
Bedwetty. He was very scared. So if the Home Office is sending spies to these meetings, they must be pretty scared.
They're very concerned because if anything's going to kick off, it's going to be here. People are preparing seriously for an armed insurrection, and people in quiet corners of the ironworks are making pikes and spears, and people are buying weapons. And it comes to a sort of a peak in November 1839. And this is a sworn statement given by Thomas Jones Phillips.
I'm an attorney residing and practicing at Newport. On Sunday the 3rd of November last, Mr. Humphrey, one of the magistrates, sent a messenger to request my immediate attention at Tredegar Ironworks. A great number of persons had congregated together during the night and had determined to proceed in a body towards Newport, where they were to appear at an early hour the next morning. Feeling anxious to return to Newport, I left Tredegar Ironworks on the morning of Monday, the 4th of November, by the Tredegar coach.
So all over the valleys, the miners and the ironworkers are angry, they're up in arms, they're forming mobs, and they're heading down towards Newport. And our ancestor is trailing them in his first-class coach, monitoring them at every point. Good that we're peeling away the layers of Thomas Jones Phillips. He's gone from being a sort of officious windbag to now being a full-blown snitch who's trying to stop a mob of people that are fighting for freedom.
Hello.
2 tickets to Newport, please.
Off to Newport we go.
On the 4th of November 1839, Jack's 4 times great-grandfather, Thomas Jones Phillips, was pursuing a band of armed Chartists marching on Newport.
Should we do a bit of singing?
Why don't you sing that Welsh song? We can do a version that's from Thomas Jones Phillips's perspective.
Yeah, which is Welshman will be dead.
No, not dead. Just not able to vote.
Yes. Welshman will not vote.
Welshman
will not vote.
I now want you to pretend that it's 1839.
Okay, fine.
Nothing extraordinary occurred until the coach reached Abercarn. There, we overtook several colliers and miners who expressed their intention to go to Newport. The coachman told them what the fare was. One or two of them paid the amount demanded, and others said they had no means. I then suspected that something disagreeable was going to take place and expressed to the coachman my surprise at his permitting persons to occupy places on his coach without paying their fare.
Absolutely.
And those persons were compelled to abandon their seats. Basically, some miners and colliers have tried to get on the bus, and then Thomas Jones Phillips has gone, oh, excuse me, these guys haven't paid. He's a perennial snitch.
So what happened then?
Well, hopefully they beat him up. We passed several groups of colliers or miners, some with guns, others with pikes and mandrills. Isn't that a duck?
Oh, that's a mandarin duck.
Oh.
I don't think they had ducks.
Well, they might do. Some of them had pikes, and then there was a couple of guys with ducks, just to, like, weird people out. Even Thomas Jones Phillips wouldn't know what to do. He'd be like, why is that guy holding a duck?
Yeah? Good point.
When I arrived at Newport, I went to the Westgate Inn, where I was made fully acquainted with what had taken place in my absence. What happened in his absence? I want to know.
Jack and Michael are meeting up with local historian Rhiann Jones.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hi.
So, we have been following the route of our ancestor. He was hot on the heels of a mob of angry Chartists who were marching on Newport, and we know that something went down at the Westgate Inn.
Yeah, unfortunately, when your ancestor arrived, he would have found the front courtyard of the Westgate Hotel full of injured and killed Chartists.
Oh no.
Around 5,000 Chartists marched on the Westgate Hotel, where a group of their fellow Chartists were being held prisoner. 500 soldiers and special constables guarding the building opened fire on the protesters.
And how many people died?
22 Chartists died and about 50 were injured.
Very sad.
The Newport Rising, as it became known, was the greatest loss of civilian life inflicted by the army on British soil in the 19th century.
So Thomas Jones Phillips arrives here and he sees this scene in front of him, the aftermath of this massacre. And I wonder how that sits with him. The tragic result of the toxic environment that he has stoked. Not great.
Not great.
I wouldn't have thought.
So what happens after this nightmare here?
After the battle, which only lasts about 20 minutes to half an hour, the surviving Chartists scatter, but obviously there are warrants out for the arrest of anyone who took part. Which brings me to this document.
£100 reward, John Frost. The above reward will be paid to any person or persons who shall apprehend and bring to justice John Frost, who stands charged with the crime of high treason by order of the magistrates, Borough of Newport, November 4th, 1839. And the magistrates of Newport is Thomas Jones Phillips.
Yeah, well, he would have,
Clerk
would
to
have
the
been
magistrates.
working for them, yeah.
Of course, in 1839, I mean, £100 would have been a lot of money, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's the equivalent of several £1,000s.
Oh, God. Thomas Jones Phillips isn't the guy that finds him and turns him in, is he?
The next part of the story takes place in Shire Hall in Monmouth, where some of the remaining Chartists get put on trial.
Please don't be.
To discover what became of Thomas Jones Phillips in the wake of the Newport Rising, Jack and Michael have returned to Monmouth.
So this is the courthouse in which all of the Chartists arrested after the Rising were put on trial.
And does our ancestor, Thomas Jones Phillips, play a part in these trials?
Oh, yes. He has to make a deposition to tell the story of what he was doing.
Regina versus John Partridge. Who's John Partridge?
John Partridge was a Chartist printer who lived next door to John Frost.
Ah. Thomas Jones Phillips, being sworn, saith that he is a solicitor residing at Newport. I arrived that morning, Monday the 4th, about 10:30. I assisted the magistrates in taking evidence. I then took the information of the parties who had inculpated John Frost as the ringleader of the riot. The magistrates had agreed to offer a reward of £100 for the apprehension of John Frost for high treason. Bills offering that reward for his apprehension were issued. I do not recall seeing them before I went to execute the warrant. Oh, so he's saying he didn't know that there was a...
Oh, is there a reward?
Oh, there's a reward, £100 for finding this guy that I've hated for years. Wow, that's a convenience. I went to Partridge's house and I said, Partridge, open the door. He said, I've gone under the bed?
Oh, no, I've gone to bed, I think.
But he was actually in the cupboard, so he did throw him off the scent. I said, get up and open the door, for if you don't, I shall force open the door.
Very much.
I was attended by Mr. Stephen Rogers, a grocer of this town.
Why would you bring a grocer with him?
We didn't bring him because he was a grocer, he was also a constable, so he's there, he's taking a constable with him.
Right.
As soon as the door was open, I saw a person standing within 2 yards of me inside the house, whom I found to be John Frost. Mr. Stephen Rogers laid hold of him by the collar of his coat on one side and I the other. We both said, Mr. Frost, you are our prisoner. So our ancestor is directly responsible for the arrest of the great Welsh hero of the Chartist movement.
He is.
What did Mr. Rogers do then? Did he whack him over the head with a marrow or something like that? Any more exciting drama ahead?
It was the biggest trial to grip the nation that year, and Frost and his fellow Chartist leaders are all found guilty of the crime of high treason, and then they're brought up for sentencing. That's in here.
The last sentence of the law is that you, John Frost, and you, Zephaniah Williams, and you, William Jones, be thence drawn on a hurdle to the place of execution, and that each of you be there hanged by the neck until you be dead, and that afterwards the head of each of you shall be severed from his body, and the body of each divided into 4 quarters. Wow. And why is it such a brutal sentence?
Because it's the worst crime the law can imagine. High treason against the state, high treason against the Queen.
But it's not medieval.
Yeah, it is medieval. And as a matter of fact, these are the last defendants in the country ever to have that particular sentence passed down against them.
So, Steve, you've got one final thing to show us. I presume this is going to be like a drawing of our ancestor Thomas Jones Phillips dancing around with John Frost's head on a stick.
Shall we have a look? This is the criminal register from the Assize Court.
Names of offenders. John Frost. Offence, high treason. Sentence, death. Execution of capital sentence. Transportation for life. So not death.
No, ultimately not. The appeals for clemency were successful.
That's great news. There's the light. This whole thing, we've been looking for some light at the end of the tunnel, and we found it.
Transportation wasn't a sort of picnic, you know.
Okay, where does he go?
So he goes to Australia.
Australia, that's lovely.
Sure. And
warm, sunny.
Yeah. Well, it's not a holiday, you know, it's a penal colony. He doesn't die there, incidentally.
He doesn't die. Even better.
He's given a full pardon.
Well, there is a happy ending. Through all this darkness and despair and our scumbag ancestor.
So, what happened to Thomas Jones Phillips?
Well, here's a notice from the Monmouthshire Merlin.
Again.
To the ineffable grief of a numerous family, Thomas Jones Phillips Esquire died on Saturday the 30th after acute and protracted suffering. 1843, that's only 3 years after the sentencing of John Frost.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get long to enjoy his victory. So Frost wins, which is good. So do we know where Thomas Jones Phillips was buried?
Yep, he's buried at St Willis Church in Newport. There's a plaque to him there too.
So, I wonder where his plaque is. Charles Octavius?
No, it's not there.
George
Martin Dawes? No.
Have you found it? Anything?
Well, my problem is I can't read a lot of them.
The Duke of Gloucester, 2006.
He opened the shop.
Right, okay, sorry.
It's not on the floor, you don't think?
No, it's a wall plaque.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to go to the loo.
Okay.
Got him. Thomas Jones Phillips.
Oh, yes. God, look.
Read it out.
Sacred to the memory of Thomas Jones Phillips, for many years a much respected solicitor in this town, and of Mary Ann, his wife, in grateful and affectionate remembrance of kind and devoted parents.
It's actually quite sad.
It is, very sad.
Seeing a plaque to one of your ancestors is a little weird. There he is, our ancestor, laid to rest above the toilet. Not a lot of light in our story.
No.
Should have done it with Mummy. And in fact, knowing what I know about you and your ancestry, I think going forward, I'm going to have to sever ties with you and focus on Mummy.
Why, because I'm Welsh, you mean?
No, not because you're Welsh, because all your ancestors were wrong uns. I'm sure Mummy has really nice ancestors.